In Berlin's parks, spring may be in the air, but most likely also particles of the coronavirus. Still, some left their homes to catch a bit of fresh air, exercise, and enjoy some family time, all the while generally keeping the recommended distance. These could have been some of the last weekend outings for Berliners, as a possible nationwide lockdown was on everyone's minds.
I heard from friends in Spain how depressing a lockdown is. I don't want that, but I'm afraid it's going to happen.
Maybe the weather will also play a role, whether people stick to the recommendations. We hope so.
Of course people shouldn't gather in large groups. It's unnecessary, so that's a sensible rule. But a couple going for a walk or enjoying some food in a cafe, keeping the appropriate distance?
Why not?
Food markets are still allowed to operate. At this one, it was business as usual, with no social distancing measures observed. Yet people who came here for their food seemed aware of the risk from the dangerous coronavirus. But many also said they didn't have much of a choice. They said a lack of supplies in recent days and rumors of further restrictions added to the pressure to stock up.
I need to go shopping for my family. Who knows what will still be possible next week?
Many Berliners are fearful of what might yet be looming, while enjoying rare moments of normal life while they still can.
Well, German federal and state authorities have decided to ban gatherings of more than 2 people outside of workplaces to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The nationwide ban is to be enforced for at least 2 weeks. Exceptions will include families and people living in the same household. Also, all restaurants will be ordered to close with only delivery services allowed. Hairdressers, cosmetic studios, and massage parlors must also shut their doors. Germany has confirmed 24,000 cases of COVID-19 and more than 90 people here have died from the disease. The measure was agreed on Sunday in a conference call between Chancellor Angela Merkel and state ministers.
We discussed today how our countermeasures are working. We have no vaccine and we have no medicine. All we have, firstly, are the efforts we are undertaking to prepare our healthcare system, especially hospitals, for the expected continued high rise in infections. And secondly, our own behaviour. This is currently the most effective means. That means reducing public life as far as is reasonable and cutting as far as possible our contact to those who could spread the virus.
Let's get more now on what this means for Germany. We bring in DW political correspondent Emmanuel Chase. Emmanuel, stricter measures, it seems, every few days being implemented here in Germany, but still falling short of a total lockdown. What do these newest measures mean now?
Exactly. We fall short of a total lockdown simply because it's quite difficult for all the regional leaders to agree on that lockdown, because not all of them want to implement something quite as radical as we saw, for example, in Italy. So what they've agreed upon today is to drastically reduce contacts within people. And as you said, there will be no, people will also be able to have contact with one other person maximum when they will be outside. Of course, there would be exceptions made, for example, for families or for people living under the same household. But the rule is so as to reduce the circulation of the virus to a really minimum, is that people are no longer allowed to interact with one another, to interact with more than one person at a time.
That, to me, sounds like a fairly strict measure. I mean, how can you or how can the authorities, possibly try to implement that, preventing people from speaking to more than one other person? How can they enforce that?
Exactly. It is quite a drastic measure. It is quite a strict measure, but at the same time, like you said, how is it even feasible? Is it possible to look after every single person and to see whether or not it is well implemented? What that means is that there will be more places that will close. You mentioned restaurants. As Angela Merkel also mentioned, every business implying a physical contact, for example, hairdressers, massage parlors, and so on. Doctor practice, medical practices will, of course, still remain open, but the goal is really to reduce contacts between people as much as possible. She also said that people should respect a safe distance between one another of at least 1.5 meters, and only by respecting those new rules being implemented could one gain time against the virus.
What else did Chancellor Merkel have to say during this press conference?
She acknowledged those drastic changes, and she also said that she was really aware of how demanding they were on society, but she wanted to thank people who were actually following the rules. She said the vast majority of Germans and of people living in Germany have acknowledged this importance of following those rules so as to slow down the spreading of the virus. She said that it was all about gaining time against the virus, against coronavirus. She also said that people should really restrict their movements and just keep it to a bare minimum, like essential travels, going to work, going to the doctor, going to the supermarkets. She acknowledged that is quite a challenge for everyone, but that only if everyone sticks to those new measures would we be able to slow down the spreading and handle this crisis as good as possible.
DW's Emmanuel Chase, thank you very much.